Minnesota, or excuse me, Blue Earth County, Blue Earth Board of Commissioners to order. Today is April 3rd, 2018. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So let's have a agenda review. Is there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, we have a couple of changes today. One is the addition of an appointment of Commissioner People to a homelessness leadership circle that the Association of Minnesota Counties has requested participation in. And then just one minor change. Our first action item is the Small Cities Loan Agreement extension request. Patty Woodruff is not able to make it here today due to the weather, so we can either take some action or table that item, whichever you prefer.
Well, I think we could go ahead and review it, I think, and talk about it.
Sure.
So we can see how that goes. And then the homelessness, the AMC committee appointment, can we put that right underneath the voting equipment then, or administrative services?
That would be fine.
Okay, is that all right, Mark? Sound good? All right. Sounds good. All right, so with that, we could go right into the Small Cities Loan Agreement extension request and
approve the agenda? I'll move the agenda,
go ahead,
Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
We have a motion for approval and a second for approval of the agenda with its changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now we can move on with the meeting. Sound right? We've got the Small Cities Loan Agreement extension request, and this is from the City of Mapleton. And from what I understand, from reading the board packet, that they've all approved it down there. The person that's requesting it is the Creekside Ag Services, Dan and Mary Fitzsimmons. And they began the business in 2010. They're a dealer for the Channel and Rink seed companies and sell farm chemicals through Hefty Seed Company. They purchased the old Soli sale building in Mapleton, and they renovated it about 5 years ago. And they received a Blue Earth County Small Cities loan in the amount of $57,500 in 2013. Since the loan began, Mr. Fitzsimmons has made regular payments, has never been late or even missed a payment. And so the request is for an additional 5 years, because normally those are 5-year loans. It'd be something that we could move or discuss beforehand, whatever you'd like the board like to do.
I'll move it.
Second.
Yeah. All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Brunder and a second from Commissioner People to approve the extension for 5 years for the Creekside Ag Services LLC loan. And these loans are, the way we structured them from what I remember, is that they 50% responsibility if they didn't work or failed somehow goes to the county, 50% goes to the city. So they've got some investment in what goes on with these. Is that correct, Bob?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Okay. Let's open it up for any comments or discussion.
Mr. Chair, we've done this once or twice in the past. It's not common practice, but there's plenty of money in the account. They've obviously been doing a good job over there. I certainly am going to support this today and move forward with it.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Both of our rural commissioners agree. You both have a piece of Mapleton too, I think, don't you?
Nope.
You don't have
Mine
It's
is-
all mine.
It's all.
It's all
Yep.
so you go all the way out there. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, we've done it for a couple other ones, I believe. We've extended them, and as long as they're obviously up and running and working well, it probably just helps their bottom line as they operate. So, okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And now we can move on to Public Works. I'd like to invite Mr. Ryan Tilges, our county engineer, to come forward. Good morning, Ryan.
All right.
Looks like you've got kind of an extensive agenda for us
Got
today.
a little bit of stuff today.
Yeah.
Always a lot going on within Public Works. Never a dull moment. All right. The first order of business on our agenda for today is consideration of the County Road Safety Plan update, and in your packet there's a copy of the agency agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. This allows MnDOT to act as an agent on behalf of Blue Earth County to administer federal funds for plan update for our County Road Safety Plan. Our original plan, I believe, was published in about 2012. We've had, or will have had, 3 highway safety improvement program projects, each totaling about $500,000 based on the contents of the safety plan. Those are all federal funds at 90% of the project. Funding, the other 10% coming out of the county. So it's been a great tool. It also helped us identify and receive additional HSIP funding for the 4th project, which would be the 22 and 90 roundabout. So a good plan. We do utilize it internally quite a bit when we do have inquiries and other items that we can incorporate into our projects as we go about. So I would certainly recommend that. The cost of the county is approximately $11,000 for the update of the plan. That's our share of that project. So I certainly think it's a worthwhile endeavor. So I would recommend approval of that agreement.
I would move to approve. Second.
All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Sturenberg and a second from Mark People for approval of this road safety plan update agreement with the state of Minnesota, right? MnDOT.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any more questions or discussion? And we've done these before, haven't we? Like, is it like every other year?
The initial one was fully funded by the state, so the update was optional to the counties.
Oh.
We opted in because I think it's an important endeavor, and we've certainly seen payback from it. So again, having seen approximately $2 million worth of federal funding come into Blue Earth County based on our use of that plan and our applying for those HSIP funds.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Can you give us just one example of how we've used those funds?
Well, the projects are primarily, the plan identifies curves that are problematic or higher risk for crashes. It identifies roadway segments that are, again, high risk, and intersections that are high risk, and then it identifies low-cost solutions to those risks. Generally speaking, chevrons around curves, shoulder widening, so paving out an additional 2 feet if we have a 12-foot lane, paving out the additional to 14. In addition to that, some of the low-cost safety strategies are 6-inch striping, some that are rumble strips, rumble stripes, some are wet reflective. So combinations of those strategies that are outlined in the plan. There are also some stop bars, some painted on pavement stop ahead signs. So they're not long-term improvements that are, but the intent is that once we put them down, they're out there. We'll continue to mimic those efforts. When we come back to restripe, we'll restripe a 6-inch stripe or repaint the rumble stripes or the stop aheads. So again, very low cost, but what they deem to be relatively high impact safety strategies.
Okay. Yeah, I like that because, you know, as you know, I've been on that TZD committee for the last, I don't know, 8 years. And, and I thought that some of those funds for safety improvements on highways covers the striping. Help pay for.
And it's just for those specific projects, not the rework of it after we grind it off with our plows after a few years. But
okay, yeah, that makes sense. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
All right.
And then we're going up to go ahead with the striping. I think we've got coming up.
Well, the second order of business, the action item, is actually a resolution for this agency agreement 1029814. MnDOT requires a resolution be passed in addition to the agreement being signed by the officers.
Oh, it does, okay.
So this is just supportive of that agency agreement that I had given you previously, we had just discussed.
Kind of just reiterates.
I would move that also.
Okay.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Sturenberg and a second from Commissioner Brunder. I saw it on the list, but I thought the first one was just describing the whole thing, and the second...
Yeah, they're a little bit different way of business that they require both things be executed.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
All right, now on to the striping.
Yes.
We did receive 2 bids this year, the same as 2017. The apparent low bid was from AAA Striping for a grand total of $137,240. Traffic marking was slightly higher at $144,290. We did see an increase from last year. approximately 7% higher than last year. We did include some additional mobilizations that the contractor has to move into the county more than they had in the past per our previous conversations. So we should, if they need to come back in 3 or 4 times, we have the mobilizations added in, which is a cost to the contractor.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, and I think part of it's seasonal, and that a lot of the striping work gets out very early in the year. I mean, I think we're still fine with the timing, but their calendars are starting to fill up, and as their calendars fill up, their costs increase because they're not as hungry for the work.
Oh, I see.
I think I would recommend moving ahead with AAA striping.
All right.
Also move. Second.
We've got a motion to approve AAA striping from Commissioner People, seconded from Commissioner Purvis, and in the amount of $137,240.
Correct.
And is there any questions or comments?
Nope.
Just noticed it went up $10,000, but I suppose that's the cost of doing business. I'm not sure what handles that difference in cost, but
You know, I don't think we can blame fuel necessarily, whether the paint materials went up slightly, and then again, an additional mobilization also has a cost to the contractor.
Mm-hmm.
employee costs.
Yep,
a lot of
everybody's got to
different
make a
things.
little more than
Yep.
last year, so
You
you
bet.
can state the nature of the business.
And in southern Minnesota area, these are the only 2 companies that generally,
Generally speaking, there's better
Respond.
work. Yep.
Okay.
We see them on a lot of our highway projects as well.
traffic marking, that's the name of the name of the second company?
Correct.
Okay. Theirs would have been 7,000 almost increase too, so I
Correct.
mean, obviously the cost must be going up. When you talked about that mobilization, you're meaning that they're more available to come back and
We
help?
require that, yeah, I believe it's within, I think, 2-week notice, they have to come back and do more of the work that we request. So it's their ability to just pick up what they're doing, change their schedule, and fit us in to come back down. So it does require some, perhaps additional overtime to drive down, and additional fuel costs, and all of those things that go along with driving all those big heavy trucks back down here at the
Yeah,
time, and their
yeah.
employees.
Huh, okay. Well, I know it's an important thing. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Next action item number 4 is consideration of bids for the CRS bituminous material. And we've got the prices listed for 2018 and 2017. There is quite a jump, although the thing to keep in mind, because this really brought this to my attention to say the least, when I saw nearly a $50,000 jump. 2017 was significantly low prices that we have not seen. And so as I looked over our historical prices, what we're seeing is really more reminiscent of our 2013 to 2014 bids. So prices are climbing back up there. We did speak with Nicollet and Waseca County, who had also opened their CRS2 bids, and they came in very similar to ours for the materials. I also spoke with the distributor from HG Megs, and he'd given me some information that I found interesting. The CRS2 oil is 60% of 5828, which is our asphalt binder we use for our low traffic level bituminous pavements. It's effectively, in room temperature, it's a solid material. You couldn't even push your thumbnail into the material, it's that hard, because obviously that's what we melt and we mix together with the aggregates to make bituminous pavement. It's 40% chemical additives, including hydrochloric acid, polymers, and emulsifiers. That's where a lot of the price increase has been seen in their manufacturing this material, that the additives and the chemicals that go into it are very, very expensive. They've gotten very expensive. So the other item he had cited, I know we've discussed this in the past, is seeing some of the increased efficiency with some of the oil refineries. They're getting more fuel that can be used in vehicles out of every barrel of fuel that's extracted from the earth. And with that being said, the bitumen material that we use to pave our roads is really the leftover crud that's left at the bottom of the barrel after everything that's usable has been extracted from that barrel. So as they're getting more out of that barrel, it's leaving less of that binder material, the kind of the really sticky, gooey crud. I guess is the best way I can describe it, the asphalt binder material.
the
but
technical
that
term?
is the technical
Very
term. You can
technical
use that. But It's something when you see just a brick of that stuff, it's a solid state. So, a little bit of an explanation, knowing that our neighbor counties are also in the same boat as us, is the pricing, and then looking again at the historical pricing being low the last couple of years, but seeing that this was the neighborhood we were in, 3 to 4 years ago, leaves me more comfortable with recommending that we award the bid to the apparent low bidder, HG Megs.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Got a motion for approval and a second. And when it's the definition is emulsified asphalt, does that include all the gravel that's inside of that with it, or
No, that's this is for our seal coat operations.
Oh, okay.
So this is the material that we lay down we spray over the top of the road, and then we chip seal with the
Wow.
small rock on top of it.
That's
So this is just the bitumen material that we
I
spray on
gotcha.
the roads.
And so where do we get the rock then? Who
Local
does it?
quarries, depending where, some of it comes, I believe, from the Johnson Quarry, the river rock, the small pebbles. And then we had also talked about getting some of the hard quarried limestone chips from Iowa, because they are actually cheaper than the New Ulm quartzite.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and MnDOT's been using that on their chip seal projects
They
as
have.
well. So for our higher traffic level, we're going with the hard. It's much different limestone than what we have locally. It's very hard.
Oh, interesting. Do they grind it here too?
No, it's crushed on site in Iowa, and then they truck it in, and they
Okay.
actually will do that for cheaper than what we can go to New Ulm and buy it for.
That is
Wow.
amazing. Isn't that something?
That's because they got a heck of a lot more
Resource.
aggregate down there, resources.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Even
Oh,
with
yeah.
our SMC or with Vetter, they don't have any.
That stone's not
Doesn't
durable
grind
enough
up.
for what we want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of that
Interesting.
limestone's fairly soft, the veins that are left.
Okay.
They didn't, I don't know if that had to do with glaciers.
Yep,
They didn't get
absolutely.
glaciers down
are
there.
how
Realize
it was all formed.
we were all glaciers here. in
Yeah.
Iowa, and they didn't have that, so.
Interesting.
There's your geology lesson for the day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, well, nothing else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Item 5, consideration of final payment for State Project 007-070-003, which was our 2017 Highway Safety Improvement Program project. Again, this was federally funded, 90% federal funds, derived from our application for those funds out of our county safety plan that we just approved the update of. So the final pay request amount is $24,104.66.
I would move to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion for approval and a second. And this is the one for the project. Can you just tell me where that was again?
This was all over the place.
So there's various.
Various county roads, and they are not even listed on this document. I could send it to you after the fact if you'd like.
No, I mean, so these are just cleanup last
Again,
payment.
shoulder paving, striping, rumble stripes, chevrons. It was a safety improvement project
Oh, okay.
on a lot of our rural county roads. I know County Road 10 had a large contingent of it where we paved the shoulders out.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big share. I think 33 did as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on about 7 or 8 different roads.
Any discussion or inquiry?
Nope.
Nope. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I apologize for not having them all memorized, but between all of those candidates for last year's project and this year's project,
Yeah.
and then all of our overlay candidates on top of it, it gets to be number soup. Action item number 6, consider final payments for state aid project 007-614-014, which is our county state aid highway 1 project, our first piece of the turnback. From Good Thunder to county state aid highway 9. This was a 2016 project with Southern Minnesota Construction. Final contract payment amount, $71,237.84.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We've got a motion for approval and a second. It's open for discussion. Comments?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. I have a question.
Yep.
This is a major, big project that we,
It
you know,
was.
that you did. It's I don't know what leg of the project you call it, but it's the first leg that we got done. And,
Correct.
all the way from Good Thunder 66, or now it's number 1, all the way to 9,
Yep.
which comes down from Rapidan. And then it's only, well, it's April 2nd, isn't it today, or April 3rd? April 3rd. And so you've done a final inspection of that whole area. Is there any other warranty work or anything like that that we're concerned about, or once this is paid, this
Once
is
this
it?
is paid, that's it, but, you know, this was open to traffic all of last year as well. You know,
Okay.
with the addition of a little bit of grading that we had to do in the spring to clean things up.
Yeah,
It's been opened, and we did leave off the top bituminous wearing course, you know, the top 1.5 inch of pavement will actually go on under this year's overlay program.
oh, not
So
under
if we
there?
do see any little dips develop just because of differential settlement with our wet clay soils
Yeah,
or pipe settlement, we have an opportunity to correct that.
that's what concerns me, you know, that we do it so early, give them their final payment before we have the thaw go out, and all of a sudden something's
Well, and
really...
we've already had one freeze thaw cycle go through on the
So you think
project.
it's okay?
Yeah, it was paved in 2016.
Right.
So it's been completed. It was open to traffic all of last year. So, and again, we've got the bituminous leveling course to go over the top yet, the final wearing course that'll.
And that's a
smooth it right
separate
out.
contract?
That'll be a separate contract, correct?
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
That's been our practice, just to make it past those kind. You know, we could put a warranty period into these contracts, but then the state doesn't like the contracts being held open for an extended period of time. And we'll pay for that warranty.
You pay for the warranty.
You pay more?
Certainly.
Yeah, okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Right. Action item number 7, consideration of a resolution in support of the Corridors of Commerce funding for the reconstruction of the interchange at US Highways 14 and 169. I had received an email or a letter actually from MnDOT requesting resolutions of support for projects that were listed within Blue Earth County's geographic locale. With that being said, the 2 projects that were within Blue Earth County, they had requested whether or not we wanted to send a resolution of support for one of the projects. This one, the interchange with Highway 14 and 169, is in the Maple Long Range Transportation Plan. So I think it's important for us to consider what's supported by our community partners. And with it being in the MPO did endorse this project, so that's why I'm bringing this one forward for consideration by the county board. The other submittal was for an interchange at the intersection of 169 and I believe Webster and Lynn Street. That is not in the Maple Long Range Transportation Plan. They're not supporting it. I just certainly think there's better projects out there, so I did not include a resolution for that one based on our conversation that I've had with
Makes sense.
Bob and Drew.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Commissioner People moved and Commissioner Struenberg seconded it. Is there any comments or questions?
I concur with what the engineer said anyway, so
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it sounds to me like it's gone through the proper process, and if it has support of the Maple program, I'm certainly on board to support it today, so.
Just got a few questions. One would be to ask Commissioner Struenberg. This is one that's been come through maybe the 169 Corridor Coalition, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's been on the docket for the 169 corridor for as long as I've been on. There's, you know, I think just supporting this through the Corridors of Commerce will just help the whole process along. There certainly has to do a lot more work to figure out how we're going to do it, what kind of interchange they would put in there if they did that, but
I might just add, you know, the resolutions just help MnDOT with their scoring criteria.
Right.
It gets them their community support points towards the application when they go through and rank all of these different projects that have been applied for, and there's an abundance of projects that have been put on the list. So
Yep, you bet.
I don't envy them having to vet all of those projects.
Yeah. Well, my concern, I just have a little concern over it, and that is that I've been serving for quite a few years on the Highway 14 partnership, which also Mankato, North Mankato, in fact, every city along the corridor now is a member of, all the way to Rochester from New Ulm. And I know that there's quite a bit of competition for these corridors for commerce dollars. There's $200 million, is that correct?
I believe so.
And so the timing of it and things like that, I know we've been really wanting to have the 4 lanes addressed at both sides. The city of Mankato, our county has supported it. We all pay our fees, just like 169 Coalition, you know. I'm bringing up the next resolution a little bit because it does. I don't know if it'll affect the scoring factors a lot. I'm just bringing it up as a discussion point.
They're all weighted individually, is
Oh,
my
okay.
understanding of it. They take this project and they rank it based on all of the criteria, and it
Yeah.
gets a score.
Okay.
And then they'll take the Highway 14 project and go
Yeah.
through the applications for that, which we do have a resolution of support for as our next action item.
Yeah.
And they'll rank that one on its own.
On its
So I
own
don't think
merits.
it's gonna be one or
Okay.
the other.
Yeah. I just-
In my opinion.
goes through my mind.
Why not have more in the pool and more opportunity?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's gonna be other agencies are gonna hold back and not endorse one project in favor of another, because I certainly think why not?
Yeah.
Take
okay,
your shot
good.
at as many as
I mean, I'm in
possible.
favor of the interchange idea, don't get me wrong.
I certainly understand where you're going with it.
Yeah.
The magnitude of Highway 14 is very significant, I agree
Yeah.
with that. But I think it'd be a good idea to support this one.
Yeah, no, I'm in support of the concept in its entirety, because Mankato is a very busy community and we're growing, and
Mhm.
I know we need it, so, yeah. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right. And then the last action item that I have is a resolution in support of Corridors of Commerce funding for the expansion of US Highway 14. And this was, per our discussion, it was not requested of us by MnDOT, but I think my thought and Commissioner Campbell's thoughts as well, that it certainly would not hurt to voice our support for the project, being active participants in the Highway 14 Partnership Coalition. So with that being said, I would recommend approval of this resolution.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Stuenberg for approval and a second from Commissioner Purvis. Is there any discussion or comments on this?
Well, I don't think any of us down here need to discuss this too much. Everybody knows the importance of having a 4-lane from New Ulm to Rochester. You know, we've been fighting this battle since for over 50 years, and
Yeah.
we want to get it done with.
That's true.
If
That's
there's a
true.
possibility of
Some of us.
showing our support with a resolution that might help.
This
Yeah,
has been going on since some of us were in high school or junior high. So-
That's just you.
Were you looking
Mark.
at me?
Just you.
I'm looking at you. I'm talking-
You mean you were in high
You're
school?
young.
In the 60s?
Yeah, well, late 60s. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
this
know.
was, I remember being talked about, for a heck of a long
You
time.
bet.
It's been going on for a long time. You're right, Commissioner Struenberg, too, that I think it's been, over 50 years. And, you hate to rank which side needs it most, but if you had to, you might want to even rank the one that's on the east side, because that's 4 lanes on both sides of that piece, complete.
I don't think we should be in the ranking of
No.
each side at all,
But-
because to us, they're equally important.
They are, they really are. And I know that we have been involved as a county with this Highway 14 partnership for a long time too, so. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right. On to some informational items. Please feel free to ask questions as we go. Construction project updates. The Rapidan Dam work was completed. The contractor is demobilized. Their coffer dam is out of the downstream apron in the river basin. Their county and Eagle Creek Renewable Energy are working with Kleinschmidt, who was the design and consultant engineer for the dam project, to submit the after action report so that the pool elevation can be raised and hydroelectric generation can ramp up so that we can return to profitability at the dam. That's a Federal Energy Regulatory Committee required report to be submitted prior to them giving Eagle Creek the authority to raise the pool elevation from the crest. CASA 5 bridges The 3 that are out there north of Mankato, the decks were poured with the bridge railings have been installed. The road is temporarily reopened to traffic until grading and paving can resume this spring. We still have a tentative June completion date for that project. Again, worked out very well to do it over the course of winter. County State Highway 14 from 4 to 10, no updates. We had hoped to be working out there by now, but Mother Nature had other plans. Same thing goes for County State Highway 12. And the 90 and Minnesota Highway 22 roundabout, bids were open March 23rd, and the apparent bid results were very good. The engineer's estimate was approximately $4.6 million. The low bidder was Mathewitz Construction Company at $4.08 million.
Wow.
So almost $500,000 under the engineer's estimate. Primarily because they were already mobilized. Again, the mobilization cost of getting your equipment and your people out there, they had a lot of their equipment already out on the stretch from Mapleton to 10. So they had a competitive advantage there, and we're looking forward to working with them on that project.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Put those in here. Yep.
And there's another public hearing coming up for that?
I think
Or is it
the
done?
one I had forwarded you was for the Transportation Improvement Program.
Oh,
The
okay.
open house that was being held
Okay.
by Maple.
Oh, yeah. That's,
Yep.
same day as the full commission meeting for Region 9, too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I've got other meetings going on. I might not even be able to make it to it, so.
It should be on here. April 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, open house up at that South Central Cooperative Building in
Okay, yep.
Mankato.
Yes.
And what's going on with that, I can just say real quick, is that Region 9 TAC, Transportation Advisory Committee, usually we do it right, just have a Transportation Advisory Committee, and then we'd have MnDOT come in and do their update and talk about their area transportation plan draft. We didn't get a lot of people coming to the meetings, and so we decided not to have our TAC formally and just have it right before our normal Region 9 commission, and there's a lot of commissioners and mayors and township officers and people that come to that, so they might be apt to come in and see what's going on with MnDOT right before we have our full Region 9 commission meeting.
Okay.
So it's kind of a new way of doing it. Sure. How we try it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Brunder was correct. There is actually an open house this Thursday that
Oh.
MnDOT is having on Highway 22. So
Oh,
For the
okay.
roundabout discussion.
That's the roundabout.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't even have that one on my calendar.
I don't either.
I think that one's at the,
the
That's
Pioneer
looking up
Research Facility.
oh, it is out there by the on-site type thing.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
missed notification on that one.
Pioneer Research.
Okay.
Is that where
Thank
it's
you.
at?
What time is that at?
That says 5:30 to 7:30.
To talk to the project engineer and see why I missed out on that notification.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Send it to the important.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can live with that.
You don't have nothing to do with that intersection, do you?
Not much, no.
Yeah, right.
So we got something else that night, but maybe we can get there after that, but.
Planning projects update, County State Highway 1 from 9 to Mankato. The north segment, the first advertisement will be in the paper this Friday. We plan to open bids on May 2nd and bring them to you on, I believe, May 8th for consideration. That is dependent on receiving the Army Corps of Engineers permit. We did have a conversation with the project manager for the permit. He thought we should be seeing it by mid-April. We're still waiting on a confirmation for that, but because of the time that is required to advertise, we have to put it out there. That and acquisition of a couple of key remaining right-of-way parcels, but again, given the time and the delay that goes along with bidding it, we wanted to at least put the advertisements out, and then we could always delay the bid if we were forced to do so. So we're moving forward on that.
So that's from 9.
9, it includes the surcharge through the chute north of 9, and the surcharge on the new alignment piece along the De Santiago property, and then full reconstruction from 90 to Mankato. So
And that
again,
will-
that'll be a multi-year project.
And that'll start yet this year sometime?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely our intent. Given the scope of work out there, it's going to take nearly 2 full seasons to
Wow.
complete if the phasing goes as we anticipated. And the work with reinforced soil slopes will be time consuming.
Okay.
County Stated Highway 14 from Minnesota Highway 30 to County Stated Highway 4. The design is progressing well. We're moving from the 60% plan submittal to the 90% plans, working with Bolton and Mink. The right-of-way acquisition should begin fairly soon, and the Wetland Conservation Act, Army Corps of Engineers joint permit application was recently submitted. Pleasant Mound Township Bridge 91 bridge replacement. We're going to be opening bids next Wednesday. We'll be bringing those to you for April 17th consideration. Same goes for our 2018 bituminous maintenance overlays. We'll be bringing those forward on the 17th as well. The Homeland Security Emergency Management project on River Park Drive, the Johnson home. We've run into a little bit of a snag with that. We have not closed on the property because the home appraisal came in considerably higher given the market trends than what we had used in the preliminary budget that was based upon the county's appraised value. Even though we had padded that a little bit, it came in above and beyond. So in order for that to be eligible for reimbursement through FEMA, they have to do what's called a budget adjustment. And that's a fairly time-consuming process. We've been on the phone with them numerous times trying to push them to do it, but it's kind of like pushing on an elephant. You're only going to, you're lucky to get it to move. We are going to have some conversations with the homeowner about some alternative measures. It's very frustrating on our part when we look at the season. The risk still lies in the homeowner's court. We're doing what we can to push it, but to try to push a large federal agency like that is very challenging, nearly impossible. So once we get the budget amendment squared away, we would close on the home, execute the contract with the contractor, and begin the demolition project.
Okay, so insignificant enough in the cost you're saying.
Absolutely.
It's moving forward with what you had.
You know, anything that's not reimbursable would be the homeowner's loss, albeit when you look at it that it's money that he's going to get and he's going to lose. You know, it's kind of you know, we could move forward with it as it was appraised, and that'd be the other option, but we have to have that conversation yet.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So what's his risk if this thing falls in the river?
He loses
all of it.
Everything. Absolutely.
So the longer this prolongs, the higher his risk becomes. So
absolutely.
you're having conversations with him to see
we
if you
have
want
to have it. We're in the process of.
How much money are we talking? $50,000?
Correct. It was in that neighborhood that the difference in the appraisal came in.
That's cool. Which he wouldn't get all that, correct? I mean,
correct.
He still needs part of
well, 25. He'd have to be responsible for 25% of this as loss, but then there is a DNR grant that picks up
some of that.
The majority of the 25%. So we've worked through the numbers, and we need to sit down again with him and walk through it and show kind of the two possible scenarios and how much risk does he want to continue to bear.
Yeah, because as of now, you could move forward with what the numbers are.
Correct.
Correct.
With what we have approved in the budget.
Because it's hanging out there a long ways. I think Absolutely. I'd be worried.
Yeah.
So good. I'm glad you're having the conversations with the homeowner and then still trying to move forward parallel. So I appreciate that.
Good to do that.
Absolutely. The St. Clair shop updates were received 90% plans. We'll be meeting with ISG to go through those and hopefully get that under construction this spring. We are looking at an alternate of bumping out the office and the storage space, so creating kind of a lean-to on the side of the building, moving that so that we can free up additional shop space within the main structure itself. It's a somewhat low-cost alternative to increase the square footage a little bit, make it better for our employees. And highway rail grade crossing projects, just to summarize some of the work that we're going to be seeing happening at our county stated highways and the railroad crossings. In 2018, we'll be seeing gates installed at the UPRR on CSAH 5, as well as CSAH 26. We'll also be seeing gates at county stated highway 56, just north of our roundabout in Eagle Lake, at the DM&E Railroad in Eagle Lake. That was also the one I'd sent a letter to the railroad requesting a track repair, given the rough ride across it.
So they're going to do that in 18, or they're going to actually put them on in 18? Or
that's what they have programmed, and this is all administered through MnDOT's rail office, so it's somewhat hands-off for the county. And then also Garden City Township Road will receive gates on Township Road 363. Then in 2019, County Stated Highway 20 at the Union Pacific Railroad and County Stated Highway 37 at the DM&E Railroad are both scheduled. And 2020, County Stated Highway 30 gates north of Minnesota Highway 60 at the UPRR. So those are.
That's amazing.
It is,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's great. and it's
I've never
excellent.
seen anything like this before.
That's awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on the board almost 9 years, I've
Yeah.
never seen this many gates going in like this.
Yeah, it's great with that money that's set aside for these safety enhancements to see it getting put to work in
That's
our
awesome.
county.
Wow. Because I know that there were about, I don't know what the estimate is today, but it was about
250 to 300,000.
I was gonna say 250,000 per gate, so you're talking, what is this? I mean, it's gotta be close to $2 million worth of work when you include the other work there.
3/4.
Absolutely. There may, and I've given a verbal commitment that in the 2019 and 2020 projects, we may have a 10% cost share in those.
Oh, okay.
Because of some of the funding requirements have changed. However, I think a $30,000 investment in
Oh.
those is absolutely worth it.
Safety.
It's got a potential. to
Huge
save
safety.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I just can't believe it.
Incredible.
I've never seen that before. I mean, you might get how many across the whole state?
Absolutely. No, it's phenomenal to see.
Those railroad crossings, yeah.
And then I've got one more item, if I may, that was not on the agenda, that just came to my attention this morning, and it's good news, so I wanted to share it.
Bad news, you can wait.
I can wait.
Is it gonna cost us a lot of money? Don't say it.
I'll
It's gonna
send you an
cost us
email
money.
later on the bad news stuff that I got.
Does this one cost us anything, or?
Well, this is actually saving us something.
Oh, it is, okay.
The city of Mankato.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
city of Mankato put in a small urban ATP funding application for our roundabout at Pole and Stadium Road that we have programmed for 2020. And they did receive 80% federal funds in a total amount of a little under $800,000 for the project. And that was for the roundabout at Stadium at Pole. It did also include some pavement rehabilitation on Pole Road on the approaches. So that'll go a long way toward helping us complete and fund that project. So that's phenomenal.
Wow.
There will be federal funds that have to be administered through the city of Mankato. So we had a staff meeting, and we are contemplating right now shifting responsibilities as we had it programmed. Where initially we were going to construct that intersection because of the proximity to our office, and they were going to take 17 and Hafner.
Okay.
We may flip those, and we may take the lead on 17 and Hafner in 2019.
Okay.
If that is the case, that will likely have implications on our remainder of our 2019 program as far as our ability to staff those. So it may push back a leg of another project, but I think it's important to get that one done as we've committed to doing so. So right now I'm working on that. Intent to cost participate agreement, developing a draft of that for consideration by the different parties, and then we'll bring that forward for you guys for consideration. That's all.
Okay.
That is good news.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
that's good stuff.
During busy times of the day, boy, that intersection is something else, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, both of them need
That's a
a,
real,
Really goes.
real bottleneck for MSU.
Yeah.
absolutely. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Nope. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ryan.
Have a good day.
A lot of information, but thank you. Actually, it was all good. You
Good.
know, so.
Gives our regards to those the plow drivers.
We'll do that.
Okay, so we've got our county attorney office update. Mr. Pat McDermott, our county attorney.
Morning, Pat.
Morning.
Morning, Pat.
Morning, Pat.
Gentlemen, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the information, I'll answer any questions which you have. Just to give you a little bit of an update, we are in the process of filling 2 positions that are primarily in the misdemeanor prosecutor position that stems from the contract with the city of Mankato. We have an individual that will be starting on April 16th, and then another individual that will be starting on May 29th. So we're a little bit short-handed in the office right now, but we'll continue to work through that and whatnot. But otherwise, we just continue to move forward with the work. In some areas it seems to be down a little bit, but that's kind of for this time of year. Once that the weather kind of shapes up, if it ever shapes up, our numbers tend to go up, and then obviously we'll hit it back again when college starts back up in the fall. But if anybody has any particular questions, I don't want to go over the information that's already been put in the report for you. Mr. Chair, sir.
I've got one.
Sure.
I just doing a quick review of it, and I think we've covered this before, but like when you look at the felony, the gross misdemeanor, and the misdemeanor at least, laws have changed, over the last, 18 years. So from the information you've given us, but it's still good to know. I see the misdemeanors, you know, we used to have like over 500 of them,
Right.
you know, 18 years ago, and then 300 and some, you know, 400 in 2009, and now we're down to where it's 200 or 300 at the most, so I'm sure it has something to do with the law.
It not so much as with the law, but with the court system, because the courts were so overburdened. They're every year they get together and say we're going to put different types of cases on the fine and bail schedule and simply make them payable. A few years ago, no insurance was a mandatory court appearance. Careless driving, reckless driving, driving after revocation, all those types of offenses were mandatory court appearances, and they're no longer mandatory court appearances. So either people can pay their fine, come in and pay their fine, or if they don't pay their fine, then simply their license is suspended or revoked again, for example. So it is part of that cycle, but it's one way to try to keep some of these cases out of the court system. And there hasn't been very many this past year that they added to the fine and bail schedule to try to take care of some of their issues. But that's in large part what has happened. And we don't deal with those types of cases for the most part, with the exception of if there's somebody that's an extreme repeat offender. Law enforcement, instead of giving a citation, will ask for a formal complaint so we can make them come to court and appear.
So coming into court makes it a more solid charge then? I'm just kind of trying to figure it out because it's still a misdemeanor, so I thought...
Well, it's still a misdemeanor, but the courts say it's a payable misdemeanor, so the maximum sentence is a $300 fine. If we go by formal complaint, then the maximum sentence is 90 days in jail or a $1,000 fine.
Wow.
So, but technically, except for the vast majority of everything in Chapter 169, many of the traffic offenses, unless it endangers life or property, are petty misdemeanors. But over the years, the courts have added misdemeanors to that payable list to make it simply a petty misdemeanor, pay your fine and go home. Whereas, you know, with careless and reckless driving, for example, those are two of the areas where, you know, if officers would see somebody that would endanger life or property, they wouldn't have to worry about that. They'd simply charge them with careless driving, mandatory court appearance. Well, not anymore. You can simply pay your fine, and the courts have determined X amount of dollars plus the surcharges and fees and the law library fee. I look at Mr. Meyer. We had a discussion about that a little while ago. As a side note, but no, so that's the primary driving force and issue there. It is decreased the caseload in some of these areas, but as the volume and the area continues to grow, we remain steady on that. And that's also in part of why every Thursday we have arraignment court, and we send 2 if not 3 of our attorneys to arraignment court to try to deal with the cases upstream in arraignment court, so we don't have to open files in our office.
So this is more a reflection of the data from the courts.
Correct.
So we don't capture those ones where people just walk in and pay the bill.
Correct. We don't have to. If we don't have to deal with those, then we don't count
capture
those.
it.
Right. We don't capture it from our office unless we deal with it.
Oh, I see.
Unless we, if we settle the matter, or if they simply walk in and pay, then you know, then we're not dealing with it.
So technically, there could be 500, 600, 700 misdemeanors, but they're just paid at the window.
Correct. Technically,
So,
there's many more, and if you remember the information from the court administration from those stats that I put together, those would include all of those cases.
Oh, okay.
And these would include the cases that we specifically deal with in our office.
All right, I'm glad I asked the question then.
Yeah, it's helpful. Good clarification.
Yeah, it really does. It really makes a difference.
Anything else?
Good job again, Pat.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, so then move on to administrative services with our county administrator, Bob Meyer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item is the county board
Or
minutes
do you guys
for
want to take a
March.
little... Huh? We could take a little break, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I don't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry.
I don't need
I'll ask the board, the pleasure
Yeah,
of
we
the
can take
board.
a 5-minute break.
I did want to talk to Ryan, so this
Oh,
worked
okay.
fine for me.
Okay, good. We'll take a quick little break here. Be back in about 8-10 minutes. All right, so we're all back here from our break, ready to move into the administrative services with our county administrator, Bob Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item is the county board minutes for March 27.
And move the minutes.
Second.
We've got a motion from Commissioner Struenberg and a second from Commissioner People on the minutes. Are there any other questions or discussion points? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Next would be the bills for the week of March 22nd through the 28th.
I'll move the bills.
Second?
We've got a motion for approval from Commissioner Kip Brunder, and Commissioner Bill Purvis seconded them. Any questions or comments on our county bills or transactions that we've got?
Oh, where'd that one go? I had it marked. I had one, but I can't remember.
I
which
just
one.
noticed an interesting one, says, "I'm okay children's visitation."
Oh,
It was just, not that it was, I'm sure I know what it is, but it just, every once in a while you see some of these businesses and they come up with a
Oh, I know.
interesting name to their business.
Yep.
I'm okay.
I found it, Mr. Chair, and
Mark?
the J.C. Penney, a bunch of those, says refunds and revenue collected, others, rentals, just the J.C. Penney ones. What
Tax
that
court.
is.
That is a tax court refund.
That would have been, okay.
It's part of the refund process associated with tax filings that go to tax court.
How much was it? You know, is there?
$27,000.
Okay, that's what's going on with a lot of the box stores, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
It
We've
is,
gotten
yes.
some information on that. And so, I had a couple. Anybody else?
Nope, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
All right, Monk's LLC refund for $3,320. I think it's right at the top of the list, right at the very top. Got a couple of them on there actually. But
now you need the music, Mr. Chair.
yeah,
Because it's,
It's 1633 Monks LLC.
yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was
Number.
number months. I didn't see it.
I was looking under the M's.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's not,
Okay.
it's not, that's just an address.
Oh, it's way up at the top.
Thank you for that clarification. That is also a tax court refund.
Oh, okay. And then the Anoka one, I see we're still paying a significant amount of money, sometimes to Anoka. $21,000, 313. I'm assuming that that's folks from our county that are up there receiving care.
That is correct. There's both the poor relief billing, which is the 10% county share for persons committed, and then there's another portion that does not meet criteria. You've heard communications about that through AMC about the new cost share for when the folks at Anoka determine that individuals placed there don't meet the criteria for hospital placement, but we don't have an appropriate setting to return them home, and so that's part of that cost share as well.
Yeah, okay. And then again, that Bielen, B-I-E-L-E-N, William, I think it's some kind of construction or something, but it says building.
It's an electrician that did some installation of LED lighting at public works facilities
That's
as
right.
well as the household hazardous waste facility.
Another one at Regents Hospital with the University of Minnesota, contracted services for $29,000, 644.
That is our agreement with the University of Minnesota for the extension services.
Oh, that's extension, okay. That's a good one. That's all I had written down. Anybody else? Nope. All set? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is a memo regarding the purchase of voting equipment. You may recall recently the board approved a grant for this voting equipment, and so this is now the actual contract to purchase the equipment. We are buying both poll pads, which will help with the registration, as well as some ballot counters. So the total is $151,935, with the grant paying $92,160 of that total.
That's certainly helpful.
I'll recommend approval.
Second. We have a motion for approval and a second on our equipment contract, or for voting equipment. Is there any further discussion or comments? No. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
And then the last administrative item is the memo that was distributed here this morning about the appointment of Commissioner People to represent Blue Earth County and the Association of Minnesota Counties on a homeless leadership circle. This is a high-level group focused on implementing Minnesota's action plan to prevent and end homelessness. The AMC executive director put out a call to the state of Minnesota for any commissioner that was interested in participating on that committee, and Commissioner People expressed his interest and was selected to participate, and so wanted to be part of his assigned committees.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval and a second to appoint or allow Commissioner People to be appointed on this Homelessness Leadership Circle Committee through AMC, is it, Bob?
That's correct.
Commissioner People, do you have anything you want to say about that?
It's initiative is partly by the excuse me, by the state, and it would be with the Human Services, and it's got the people on the group are of course the county has a Human Services Director be appointed, and then the commissioner, and then there's also Mille Lacs Lake has a tribal representative, and then the state of course has their representatives, and like I said, the Housing Finance Director will be in charge, the head of the committee, or the circle, the council, and then the federal government's involved too, so it's an I call it an all-out effort, but it's to try to end homelessness, or at least look at a lot of different directions, a lot of different options, a lot of different looking at things in a newer light, different light. So,
Well, I certainly believe
challenge.
With your background with Partners for Affordable Housing and all the work that you've done in Mankato and Blue Earth County, you certainly are a good choice for this.
We're the retail end of it, I think. Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of these people in there, but yeah, with being a homeless shelter, actually working with that, the nonprofit end, I call that kind of the retail end, or the.
Well, I suppose.
Or the, that's the rubber meets the road, and the Polad Foundation is a big part of that, but they deal with funding, and they're the metro area, and they're also involving the Otto Bremer Foundation because they do more outstate.
Yeah.
So they're a big part.
Well, I do know it's a public health concern too. You know, Mark used to serve on the SHAC, which is the State Community Health Services Advisory Committee, and a couple years ago, Mark handed that back to me, and I've been serving on there now. And this is an issue that we talk about a lot, and even when we attend AMC or we go to NACO, NACO talks about poverty, and one of the things that they've come up with through studies is that if people had a place to live, that's the first thing you can do. If you can find them a place to live, then maybe they might find a job. And so how do we provide homes for people that just are living on the edge? You know, something's happened in their life and they're living on the edge. So it's a good thing. I'm glad they're doing this. Really am.
So it says four meetings through the year.
Okay.
First one is next Tuesday, which is kind of an introductory one.
Where do you meet, Mark?
Well, it'll vary. I guess this time we're meeting in downtown Minneapolis, and they haven't Hope my GPS works well, so.
Yeah. Probably at the city hall or something, maybe, huh?
I'll be getting information by Thursday, I guess.
Oh, okay. Anybody else?
Nope.
Any more comments? Okay.
Good for him.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mark. So then we go on to, anything else under the administrative services?
That's all I had for you today, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Now we can move on to our commissioners' reports on our committees and involvements. Who would like to start today?
I'll start. I have a relatively short report.
Okay.
I only had 2 meetings. My meeting was for the Rural Minnesota Energy Board, and the PACE Committee were rescheduled to yesterday down in Slayton. So we had the PACE Committee meeting, and we talked about moving forward on that. We had no loans to consider. We're looking at funding down the road on that, and then we had the Rural Minnesota Energy Board meeting after that, and pretty much business as usual on that. Nothing significant to report. So that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Struenberg?
Sure. After our last board meeting, I attended the Minnesota Farmers Union Rural Voices discussion, which was held at the Blue Earth County Library. Packed house. There had to have been 45, 50 people in that small room.
Wow.
People are very, very concerned about what's happening in rural Minnesota, and they came from all over the state. We had people from Hennepin County, Sibley County, Brown County.
Really?
I was one of probably 6 commissioners, county commissioners that were there. Things were talked about from transportation to SNAP to, I mean, there was a lot of different things that they talked about that had to do with the Farm Bill. Actually, it was good for me to listen to this and find out, so I can, because this week I'm heading to the Farm Bill Summit for NACO, and
Yep.
I can bring back some of this stuff that they're talking about. But those are one of those things, is, you know, you listen and try to pass along to our representatives and stuff as the elected officials. The next day, I flew out to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to the Minnesota Association of Governments Investing for Counties Fund, MAGIC Fund. What I did is I made a copy of my agenda, and I gave it to each one of you.
I saw that.
We landed in Harrisburg at 1:30 in the afternoon. As you can see, we had about enough time to get to the hotel, and then their building was directly across the street from the hotel. So we started our training, our orientation as soon as we got there. That went on till 7 o'clock that night. And then the next morning we started at 7:15 in the morning.
Wow.
We got out of there at 12:45, and our flight took off at 2 o'clock.
Oh my.
So thank God Harrisburg is a very small airport, and it was pretty easy to get through. It was probably one of the few times I actually walked through security, and I walked right onto the plane, because that was how close it was to getting. But it was an intense training. A lot of it with my background went over my head, I'm not ashamed to say, but it was very good as a trustee for MAGIC and for the state of Minnesota. I think it was real productive to see how they do things and how they take care of our funds across the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And besides that, that's all I had.
Is that Mr. Chair, is that any relation? You got Chris Trump and some company
No,
there that...
not
Human
at all.
Services
In
Group?
fact,
I figured it wasn't. but-
he's always asked that question and he says
Sure
no.
he was.
Is that right?
He says, no relation at all.
Just know I read that.
And he never gave a positive or a negative. He just said,
Oh, yeah,
no,
no
I'm no
kidding.
relation.
Okay. All right, so, Mr. Bender?
Yes, my report is relatively short too, since we just met last Tuesday. Had a couple miscellaneous meetings last week with some ditch projects we got going on, and then yesterday I had our MRCI meeting. Our auditor was there for the Finance Committee meeting, and the audit is just preliminary at this point, but it is looking great as it always does. Things are going pretty well. They will be filing it by May 15th for us. Then we had our regular business meeting after that, and things seem to be moving along fairly well at MRCI. Got a lot of work to do, keeping the clients busy. New Ulm's doing really well with, they had to close up their in-shop work over there because we're trying to get everybody out in the community, and they're just doing a great job over there, and they've got just about everybody in the community over there. So it's working out real well. There was one success story with someone that worked with the employer and the staff over there and got a person into a part-time job in a little coffee shop over there. So it was good to hear. Yesterday afternoon I was over in Pemberton looking at some road projects. Spring's coming,
Yep,
roads are
yep.
getting tore up, and
Yeah,
we have
they
some
are.
county roads through there and some other issues going on with some construction projects. And last night I stopped up and seen Amanda, our 4-H coordinator, is moving on to another
Oh, yeah.
position, and they had a reception for her last night, and it was a good turnout, a lot of people there, and so I got up there and visited with her and several other people for about a half hour, 45 minutes. So hate to see her go. She's going to be hard to replace. She did a great job for Blue Earth County in the 4-H program, but we'll find someone else that can do just as well, I hope. So that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Very good, very good. Mark, you have anything to report?
Sure. It's quite short. Basically, I think a couple of constituent calls, but mainly when the homeless circle, leadership circle thing came along. I guess that was
Okay.
a
Yeah.
big thing for the week.
Well, it's only been 7 days really since our last
so-
Yeah, yeah.
board meeting, so. So that was it. My report is fairly short, but I got a few important things I'd like to say about it. On Tuesday was our last week, was the 27th of March. We had our board meeting with no luncheon. It was a little bit shorter meeting. And after that, in the afternoon, I had the Minnesota River Congress Action Board meeting. That's over in Henderson at their old historic kind of a city hall, I think, or something. It's a very, very old building. If you ever get to Henderson, I'd encourage you to go there, because upstairs they've got an interpretive center about the whole Minnesota River Valley.
Really?
It's really something to see, I'm telling you, yeah. So we talked about our next River Congress is coming up, and you're all welcome to come. It's held here right in Mankato, and it'll be May 17th, and that will be down at the Mankato Ballroom, Cato Ballroom, I believe, and right around 5 o'clock until about 8:30 in the evening. So it's kind of a long day if you want to stay for the whole thing, but there's a dinner provided, and vendors and people that work in the area of our Minnesota River. DNR come attend usually, and a lot of nonprofits that are concerned about our water and our soil in southern Minnesota here. So we're also planning something called the Spirit of Water event. It'll be possibly named, this might be the name, Spirit of Water. You know how you do that first, and then it'll be a way forward. And so we're thinking that this could become an annual event, but it won't start until next year in 2019. And it'll be right up there in River Park, you know, right here, North Riverfront Park. And a lot of logistics to cover to get planning for that going. And then that evening, I attended the YWCA Women of Distinction Awards event. Anybody here ever gone to something like that? You've been to it, Will?
Yep.
Okay. I think it might be my third one. I hadn't gone for several years, but was attending a lot in support of Dr. Carolyn Berg. If anybody here knows her, she's quite a lady, and she's so happy with what she does here in our community, serving our community through the Mankato Clinic. And
So she was receiving an award as a woman of distinction through the YWCA. And we had a Vine table because I'm on the Vine board, and Carolyn serves on the Vine board right along with me also. So we thought we'd give her some good support. And I think she's from Guyana or Ghana or something like that, Africa. Yeah. So she had a lot of supportive members there on tables too. Then Wednesday and Thursday I had several phone conversations with people at MDH preparing for our shack call-in on Friday. And Friday, March 30th, we had an executive call-in meeting for shack, and we talked about our work groups a little bit that we're working on. There's that one that we had last year that ended in December. It was a strengthening public health in Minnesota work group. Still getting some good information out of that. And then also talked a little bit about our statewide community health conference, which is going to be October 10th at Craigan's Lodge up north. Anybody that you know that's involved with public health or is interested in health, that's always a very good conference to go to. And it's a couple-day conference. And then our new commissioner, Jan Malcolm, she spoke a little bit on our call about some of the issues going on within our state. And of course, one of them has been in the paper a lot lately, which is the vulnerable adult reporting issue. They're trying to grapple with that and to solve that because it's taking too long for reports to be responded to sometimes, and there's just a lot of reporting that was going on through the nursing homes, assisted care, home care, and that sort of thing that's been going on throughout this last year. So that's something we're grappling with, at least the mental health, or the Minnesota Department of Health is, and our commissioner. And she was our commissioner back around, I think 2000 or something, for several years, back in the Ventura days. And she's really quite a person. She seems very knowledgeable, seems to understand the issues. So I'm really happy that she's serving as our Commissioner of Health. And then, of course, we all had our Easter Sunday. I went to the in-laws in Owatonna. Monday the 2nd, had a meeting with Bob, and we just reviewed some things for the meeting today, and that was yesterday. And talked about some issues around the county. I'm trying to think if there was another announcement, but I think that we pretty much covered them. Oh, the Shack Interactive Video Conference. Talked to Bob a little bit about that, and we're inviting all locally elected officials to be a part of this interactive video conference on April 24th. And that's the day when we have our board meeting, and so hopefully right afterwards we can all participate in that. It's right at noon on that day. So I think that's about it. So thank you. Anything else for the good of the order today?
No.
We got it all covered?
I don't have anything.
All right, well, somebody
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting from Commissioner Brunder and a second from Commissioner People. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.